Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited for today's episode. As you know, this is another interview episode, and I know how much you guys appreciate and enjoy hearing the stories and journeys that a lot of people have gone on and grown through to get to where they are right now. Today's guest is no different from anyone else that I've had. They've ups and downs, twists and turns, bumps, scrapes, bruises, all those things that mount and create that entrepreneurial journey that we're all on. And what I love about this person is they focus not only on leadership coaching, which I feel is such a needed aspect in the coaching profession, but leadership marketing, which is a different take on it. You know, how to market yourself as a leader to attract clients and really build that business that you love. And we're going to talk about all that and more. So Matt, welcome to today's podcast.
Scott, thank you so much for having me. And yes, we've all gone through those ups and downs. So excited to chat today.
Yeah. And, I always love starting out these interviews. I have two standard questions and the rest is just you and I talking, which I feel is the most beneficial way to do things. So if you could rewind the tape back to what I call a catalytic moment where the light bulb was turned on, the skies opened up and you realized that there was a path sitting in front of you that you needed to go down. What was that moment for you that has now had you and put you on this journey that you're currently on?
Yeah. So in 2016, I was a civil engineer in New York City. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. And I was like, what am I doing with myself? And I'm going to wake up one day and be 60 with my kids and my wife and, in the suburbs of Connecticut or something, and like, what did I do? Like I just built buildings in New York City. Like, is that really what I'm here to do? And I was kind of having this quarter life crisis. So in 2016, I rode my bike across America, my bicycle, and got to the end of that trip. It was 90 days, over 5,000 miles, best summer of my life. And I got to the end and I was like, oh no, now I'm just going to go back and be an engineer. But I just had this best summer of my life. Every day was amazing. And yeah, sure, I wasn't making money doing it, but I was like, I've seen a life where you can wake up and fall in love with every single day. And that was kind of the moment when I finished that bike trip. My family was there. They met me out there. It was a big celebration. It was amazing. But probably like a day later, we're driving down the coast of California and I'm just staring out the window and I'm like, I can't go back to just being an engineer and living a life, working for the weekends and all this stuff. So I was like, I'm now on the pursuit of daily happiness. And I don't know what that means. And I really don't know what it looks like. And maybe it's helping people ride across, their bike across America. I don't know, but I was on the pursuit of finding out what that was. And I knew in that pursuit, I just needed to do more things that piqued my curiosity, that lit my soul on fire, even if it didn't make sense for other people. And that's kind of where the leadership comes in, where I'm just like, we've been told to do things one way, like for me, American dream, corporate job, that'll be happy. And I'm like, I'm this engineer building the World Trade Center was my project, the new World Trade Center. And I would see it every day. And I'm like, if this isn't the dream, if this isn't what any 26-year-old civil engineer would want to be, and I don't, or if that's what a 26-year-old engineer would want to be, and that's not making me happy, then what is the point of all this? And so, yeah, that was kind of the getting me to that next phase of trying to figure it out and just pursue what do I love.
So where did the idea come about to ride your bike across the United States?
Yeah, that's a great question, which I don't fully remember. And I blogged my journey. So it might be in those early blogging days of this bicycle blog that I had. But I was actually riding the bike share, city bike, to my project, which was about 3 miles from my apartment, for the sole reason that I wanted to save money so I could retire earlier. I was like, if I don't spend money on a subway pass, which is like $130 a month, but I could buy the bike share program, $130 for the year, then I can save that money. And again, hopefully retire at 50 instead of 65. And that was really the impetus of getting back into biking. I say getting back into biking. I biked when I was a kid a lot, and I just started falling in love with it. And I'm like, this is great. And it must have been somewhere in there because the first bike I bought was specifically a touring bike. So I think it must have been somewhere in there where I knew what I was going to do. But yeah, I bought this bike and then it just became like 30 miles after work, 40 miles, 50 miles. It became my new workout. I was falling in love with it and getting to listen to podcasts and ride around Central Park 5 times and all that stuff. And the story I tell is like, I rode 100 miles to my parents' house in Connecticut, 50 miles there, 50 miles back to New York City in one day. And then I was like, well, what's next? Like, I'm pretty sure I just need to bike across America.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing to do because not many people can share that. People run across, America, people bike across America, people drive across country. And the fact that, that was a 90-day experience, that's pretty monumental. And it's that brain tattoo that's always going to remain with you. So in sticking with that story, obviously you went into this completely leaning into the unknown, not knowing what to expect. I mean, weather permitting, again, you can't really control certain elements of that trip. What is something that happened on that journey that was completely unexpected, but really shifted the trajectory of how you're now living your life?
There's three different moments that come to mind. The first one is about 2 weeks in. I was training for this for months before in New York City, which is flat as hell. Basically a bridge is your best incline, which is what, 200-300 feet of incline. So wasn't much training compared to the mountains I was about to experience. And yeah, about 2 weeks in, it's end of June, getting into July. It's super hot. I'm like dying. My legs hurt. It's really hard. And I'm in the Appalachian Mountains and in Virginia. And I are kind of going into the Blue Ridge Mountains as well. And I am just like, I don't know if I could do this. And there's this moment, I get out of Shenandoah Park, come down this giant hill, and I don't know what is going through my head. I'm like, all right, I'm done with hills. Wherever that thought come from. And then of course I get to the bottom of the hill, and then there's the next hill. And it's a straightaway. It's like a few miles long. You just see it going on forever. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm not going to quit, but I hope a truck hits me and I wake up in the hospital. Like I want to be fine, but like, and I know I'm not going to quit, but like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. And then it might've been a day or 2 days later. And I was alone for these first 2 weeks, getting kind of lonely at that point too. And there's a pre-planned route, which I rode about 80% of, I would say. And I was getting out of Shenandoah Park. I was finally meeting up to that route. And I met 3 guys, one guy from London, 2 guys from New York who were musicians. And yeah, and like we bonded. It was so much fun. And the trip started to become fun. And then I noticed like, oh, I'm getting stronger too. Like this doesn't hurt so much. The heat doesn't bother me as much. And it's kind of like that tipping point where it just became more fun and less worried about like, oh no, how much elevation are we climbing? Like, whatever. It's just another day on the bike and we get to eat and explore the country. And that big takeaway was like, I've seen now in my life, there's tipping points for everything, right? If you're making content, there's a tipping point. I think a lot of people quit before that tipping point because it's been too hard for too long. Well, who the hell told you it was going to take this time? Because it's going to take the time it needs to take for you to learn all the lessons and for it to get much easier for you. But we quit when it's hard, or like, oh, this doesn't feel good for me. It's like, no, you're just not good at it yet. So maybe we keep going, keep getting good at it, right? It's that picture of, that like meme of those like diamond diggers. And the one guy like packs it up. He's like an inch away and he packs it up and goes home. The other guy just keeps going, right? It's like, you might be right there. It might be tomorrow. Like the only people who don't reach their goals are the ones that give up. So just keep going. And yeah, I've seen this everywhere. Like, when I started CrossFit, and I've been working out my whole life since I'm like 14 years old, been in sports my whole life. CrossFit was a different animal, never Olympic lifted, never did any of that stuff. And it was hard. I loved it, but it was hard. And then I remember like about 4 months, I remember it kind of clicked. Like I still sucked at Olympic lifting, but I was having fun with it now. I'm like, oh, I see the progress there. I learned swimming two years ago, and I now just have this realization, like I'm getting to see how fun it is sooner. Like, oh, if it's hard, this is awesome, because I know one day it won't be hard. And that means I'm just going to be better, stronger. I'm going to learn more about myself in the process.
Love that analogy. And, obviously I like how you have connected the dots, so to speak, from, the personal experience and how that allowed you to link that back to all the things that, truly light you up and, are the things that you want to kind of lean into, dive into. And it all goes back to leadership. And the one thing that I always tell people is that before you can lead others, you got to lead yourself. And, you led yourself through, one of the hardest journeys a human being can go on, and I guess if you really want to correlate that, I always go back to one of the books by Darren Hardy called The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster. And one of the first things that you do is you pull that safety harness down, because it's going to be a wild ride. And if you compare that to the journey that you went on biking across America, obviously there were ups and downs, going up mountains, down mountains, there was flat, it was hot. Sometimes it was rain, there were different elements that kind of went into all of that allowed you to lead yourself. And when you can learn to be a great leader and push through adversity and overcome certain obstacles, it gives you the foundation and the infrastructure to then teach others how to do it in their life and in their business. So would you say that journey, biking across America, played a pivotal role, not only in leaving the engineering world, but also opening the door to step into leadership coaching and leadership marketing? And, what was the first experience when you were fully on your own as an entrepreneur instead of working for someone else?
Yeah, well, I left to be a personal trainer, and I moved out to Denver, Colorado to be a personal trainer, which is where I am now. And I didn't call myself an entrepreneur. I didn't think I was. I was a personal trainer, and I was going to be the best personal trainer, and people were going to talk about me and refer me, and I was going to be on podcasts and all this stuff. Didn't have to market myself, Scott. I didn't have to make sales. The gym would do that for me, right? They would just send people because I'm so good. People would just be dying to work with me and pay whatever. Of course, that is not how it works. Not that I wasn't a good personal trainer, but that's just not how it works. And I quickly found that I didn't love personal training like I thought. I love fitness and wellness, but like not in the coaching aspect. And I was really falling in love with my side hustle, photography. And so I combined photography with CrossFit, and I was like, I'm going to be the Colorado CrossFit photographer. And I was good, and I was taking good photos. But again, who the hell knows, right? They're just going to hire, Uncle Bob, who's the wedding photographer. Oh, you can come to my CrossFit gym and take photos or headshots, whatever. And it's like, no, you got to get out and market yourself and make connections and do all of these scary things, jump on the roller coaster a bit more and learn how to sell yourself and charge more. And I mean, through that photography career is when I really learned what it took to be an entrepreneur. And then through that, just falling in love with marketing, which is like what I've leaned into now. And kind of what you said before, like knowing yourself. And in order to lead others, you got to lead yourself. And this is what I tell people. I'm like, you're marketing to a past version of yourself. That's all of my clients marketing to a past version of themselves. You can't take someone to a place you haven't been to before. And when you start to understand this and unpack this journey of yours, and you start to speak it into your marketing and stuff, like this is what makes the biggest difference. So, our journeys are journeys for a reason. They really do teach you stuff so that you can then now offer that and provide that to other people.
So what do you think are some of the I would say basic mistakes, or the biggest mistake that someone makes outside of, quitting before they reach that tipping point when it comes to leadership marketing? And I totally resonate with what you're doing, because for people to understand what it is that you do, how you do it, who you serve, the difference that you make in the space that you're in, you have to market yourself. You have to position yourself as the expert and the leader in your space. So what's a mistake that you see entrepreneurs and other business consultants and coaches doing where they're not positioning themselves the right way when it comes to leadership marketing?
Yeah, you could do this right now. Take out your phone, wherever you are, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, whatever your main platform is. Scroll through your last, 10 pieces of content. And is it so freaking obvious, the problem you solve? Is it so obvious? And I like to mix in storytelling. I like to mix in personal sides of myself because buying's emotional, right? So I like to talk about my values. I'll talk about my CrossFit journey, even if it has nothing to do with marketing, because we're building a deeper connection with people. But in 10 posts, we should at least 7 of them know exactly what you do and what you help with. And people get so stuck in this niching down of like, I'm going to pick this magical person, and I'm going to understand their demographics, psychographics, and then I'm going to understand the pains they're suffering and the goals they want to achieve. And it's backwards. It's like every business exists to solve a problem. That's it. So what problem do you solve? And now based on your experience in life, you have a specific way of solving that problem, right? Scott, you want to help people grow their business? Your zone of genius is LinkedIn. You are the LinkedIn guy. That's what everyone knows you as. When someone says LinkedIn, their next thought should be Scott Allyn, right? Is that true for you? When people think of content, leadership marketing, their next thought should be Matthew Allyn. They shouldn't have to go and Google or search, in the search bar, like, content coach or like LinkedIn coach or strategist. If they're doing that and they follow you, then you've messed up big time. You haven't made it super clear of the problem you solve. So again, it's like there's this problem you solve, and then you have your specific way of doing that. That's your zone of genius. Your marketing should prove that your zone of genius is the only and obvious solution to solving that problem. And so if you do that over and over again, and people want to talk about everything, right? Mindset, sales, all the things, niching down, marketing, fit, like all this stuff. It's like now people don't know you for anything. You spread yourself way too thin. You're way too broad. Just get known for one thing. And I know this is hard. I've been talking about this a lot recently, so it's kind of alive for me. But, I struggle with that. I didn't want to just be the content guy. I didn't want to be the marketing guy. I do so much more, Scott. I'm a mindset coach. I help people with sales and creating a really aligned offer. But if Monday is mindset, if Tuesday is offer creation, Wednesday is content, Thursday is sales, then what do people know me for? What are people going to talk to their friend and their friend turns to them and says, I just fucking hate making content. And like, it's so sticky and like no one's engaging and it's not bringing me leads. It's just so frustrating. It's like, oh, you should follow Matt, right? That's what we want. But if you're talking about everything, you spread yourself too thin. So really going back to this understanding that you solve a problem, right? Make your zone of genius the obvious solution to that problem. And if you do that enough and repeat that enough, this is where people start to talk to you. And then when we go back to the niching down, this demographic, psychographic kind of ideal person, it's you, right? I just said, we're speaking to an old version of ourselves. So just show up yourself. I show up and I do trail runs and I CrossFit and I play, you see my guitar behind me. I talk about Dave Matthews. Like I just show up myself and then I start attracting people who are like me. And who's more fun to work with than a past version of yourself, right? If I had Matt 4 years ago, we'd be jamming, talking about Dave Matthews. We'd be talking about our CrossFit workout, all these things, our love for muffins and all of that. And it would be so fun. We would tell dirty, weird sex jokes back and forth. And then I could teach them everything I know. And it would be a super fun relationship. And really, when you look at it that way, like that's what your marketing should be. And your best clients, like my clients are my friends. They trust me. There's faith there. They listen to me, which means they'll actually do what I say. And they obviously are doing it for themselves. But then when they show up on the coaching call, they don't want to disappoint me either, because we have that trust and that friendship, and you build that through all those different layers.
Yeah, so much to kind of chime in with there, because there's so many things that came to mind for me. It's something that Seth Godin talks about, that you don't want to market to people, you want to market with people. And when you're putting yourself out there, I call it the passenger side perspective. So you always want to think about, who is that ideal person that you want to work with? What's the messaging that they need to hear? Where if you yourself was seeing a post or watching a video or listening to a podcast episode that you were on, what's going to resonate with that person? But also positioning yourself in a category of one, right? So if I went too broad and I considered myself a quote unquote social media coach, that encompasses all of social media. But I'm a LinkedIn expert. So when someone is looking for something specific to LinkedIn, who's more likely going to get referred to? The overarching social media coach that focuses on all of social media, or that person that focuses just on LinkedIn, which is exactly what that person wants. So you really have to understand niching down actually reveals itself to you, because you don't want to work with everybody. You only want to work with people that not only are a past version of you or a few steps behind you, but really resonate with what you stand for and what you're actually doing. And to your point, everyone is in business to provide solutions for people's problems. And the simple equation is you identify the problem, you provide a solution, and you highlight the result, because that's what people are looking for. They're looking for the result. Like, okay, you've identified my problem, you've provided me the solution. what's going to happen on the back end of that? What is my result? And that's what people end up buying. They buy the preconceived result. If they do the work, they're going to have their problem solved and they're going to get that desired result. So if someone was to ask you what makes Matthew Allyn different from other leadership coaches and leadership marketing experts in your space, what would you say truly sets you apart from other people?
That's a really good question. And I believe, this is the thing I try and show through my content. It's like, it's not my message, it's your message. And what are we really trying to get after here? Like, I think what people, and what I've seen in myself is like, I have this deeper message I want to put out, right? I've always wanted to do more. I've always wanted to be more. That's why engineering, it wasn't enough. I wanted to provide more to the world. And we have this deep inner knowing of that. And now how do we articulate it in our voice, the way we want to, in a way that is fun, but also effective? And what I am really great at is opening that up, getting to understand someone's story, and then really identifying like, oh, I'm hearing you say this. You've said this 4 times, and they might think of it as nothing, right? And they're just kind of like, yeah, that's just my story. And it's like, wait, you keep talking about this. Tell me more about that. By really understanding their story. And then being like, what I'm hearing is this. It's like, oh my God, yes, that's it. And really naming it. And then once they've named it, it's like, cool, now we can start to pull out more details. Let's pull out more stories from this. Let's get it out of your head, right? Let's articulate what you truly want to say. Because it's, we can all go up here and post educational content, but everyone's doing that. Everyone is telling you how to post better on LinkedIn. So what does set you apart? It is that journey, and it is your deeper purpose. Like, Scott, if LinkedIn disappeared, who are you without LinkedIn, right? Do you know that? And that's what it's really about. And when you start to step up for your truth, right, this is what people get excited about and rally behind. Yes, LinkedIn, and we can learn from anyone, maybe somebody with more followers than you or more connections. I don't know what the gauge is on LinkedIn, but right, more of a track record. Someone probably has more of that than you. So what really sets us apart, what really starts to connect people, I said it before, the buying's emotional. When you start to stand up for your truth, what you truly believe about the world and what you want to create in your vision and all this stuff, right? Again, if LinkedIn disappeared, Scott, who would you be? Like, that's the key. And when we start there, you can see it with like Nike. Nike does this really well. You watch a Nike commercial, it's not about their patent waffle sole technology. It's not about their sweat wicking fiber or whatever. No, it's like that Kaepernick commercial, right? Stand for something. That I think is what they say. I forget the tagline, but right, it's very emotional. There's one with Serena Williams talking about women, right? If you get emotional, people think you're crazy. Well, show them what crazy can do, right? It gives you chills. That's what people want, because when they put on a Nike swoosh, it means something about them. And so when somebody works with you, what does it mean about them to choose you as their coach compared to just another coach or just making money and growing a business, right? There's got to be more to life than that. And so what do you stand for?
Love that. So for those that are listening to this episode, if they want to learn more about Matthew Allyn and how he can help them and their business with where they are, what's the best way for people to find out about you, whether online, offline, or social media?
Yeah, I hang out mostly on Instagram at matthew.allyn, Allyn with a Y. I have a podcast, Powerful Online Leadership. And then I also host Content Club every Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's a free call to come network with other people and really do everything I just said. Get clarity on your message, step into your truth, learn how to effectively communicate that, and start attracting more dream followers and turn those followers into clients.
Awesome. And for anyone that's listening to this or watching this, you're not going to have to look too far. Just look to the description of this video or of this podcast episode to find out all the ways to connect with Matthew. So final question before we sign off today. What does success truly mean to you?
I always love this question because I know something for me was something I had to redefine for myself, but it is really waking up knowing I have a purpose. I think that's what always keeps me centered, that I'm building something that I chose, right? And being, I always have this like, I'm a big Mets fan, right? I never chose that. My dad's a Mets fan. Baseball is my sport. I didn't choose that either. My dad coached my brother and I, for 15 years through Little League, up to high school. And it's like, what do you truly want in life? And if you can gain more clarity on that and then take action without worrying about what everyone's judging you of, then like that's success. If you're just chasing down, what's bringing you joy constantly, and I wouldn't recommend switching things all the time. There's a lot of power and consistency. But if something is truly causing you pain and you've really given it a shot, then let it go. Like I moved here to Denver to be a personal trainer. In 4 months, I was like, this isn't what I love. And I probably could have done it. I did do it for much longer, but I started leaning in photography more and really try that. And then the pandemic ruined all of that. But anyway, success, I really believe, is just following what's true for you and getting clarity on that, sitting with yourself, asking yourself those deeper questions. What brings me joy? And then pursuing that. And that's success. And then sure, the money will come. The people in your life, they will start to show up. Just don't block yourself from that by living a story that's not true for you anymore.
Yeah, I think the Mets need to hire you. I'm a Phillies fan, by the way, and I think that
Oh boy.
I think the Mets do need to hire you, because I think their analogy of spending more money to win is not working the way that it should. So I think they need to redefine how they're going about that. But that aside, Matt, thank you so much for being here. Just providing such value, insight, sharing your journey, your story, and obviously letting everybody know how they can work with you and get assistance and take their business to the next level. So thanks again for being here today.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott.
So again, everyone, if you're looking to connect with Matthew, just go to the description of this episode. You'll learn how to connect with him, whether it's joining his free Wednesday call or checking him out on Instagram, or obviously working with him one-on-one, or the other ways that he has to work with. And again, don't forget that there is a subscription to this podcast now, obviously outside of the Monday and Thursday episodes that you get for free. For $2.99 a month, you can unlock a bonus Friday episode. So if you would like to do that, also look to the show notes and the description to do so. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone.